everyone, this is Ashley Tucker for My Favorite Things. Today I'm going to be making a birthday card using some of the brand new products, starting out with the Happy Cake Day die set. When I saw this die set, I thought that it was perfect for making a rainbow cake. So I pulled out some of my scraps of cardstock in rainbow colors, and I'm going to cut each of those filling layers out of a different color of cardstock. This die set also comes with a die that cuts out the letters to make the word happy to put on top of the cake, and I'm going to cut each of those letters out of the same colors of cardstock. When I saw the products in the new release, I was really excited because there's a lot of great birthday products, and March is coming up, which for me, March is a huge birthday month. I have a lot of birthdays to celebrate. It's my birthday in March, my daughter's birthday, my mom's birthday, and two of my sisters have birthdays as well. So I have a lot of birthday cards to make coming up here. So some good birthday products are always necessary this time of year. Once I had all of the filling layers and the letters cut out of the colorful cardstock, I cut the large piece of the cake out of white cardstock, and then I laid all of the pieces on this piece of white scrap paper, and I traced around them with a pen, and I'm going to cut that piece out, and I'm just going to keep trimming it down until it is the right size to fit under the whole piece. I'm just trying to make something to glue all of these pieces onto so that I can have one single piece all together. So once that scrap paper was cut down to roughly the right size, I added some liquid adhesive to the back of the large piece of the cake, and I adhered that onto the scrap paper. And then from there, I can start piecing in all of the filling layers. And I've been calling them filling layers, but now that I think about it, this is probably actually the cake part of the cake, and the white part is the filling. Am I right? Because the white part is the icing, so that would be the filling. So the colorful part is the sponge. I don't know. And anyway, once I had all of that on there, I then took the letters that I cut out and I added a little bit of glue to the bottom of the stick part. And then I actually just used my finger to kind of wipe off some of that glue for most of the letters. I forgot to for the A, and I actually did have some of that glue ooze out of the side on the A, and that's why I wiped the glue off on the other letters so that that didn't happen. This is where having tweezers and a jewel picker comes quite in handy because these little letters are tiny and difficult to work with, but having those tweezers to hold them makes it so much easier. And sometimes they're hard to pick up without damaging them, and that's where the jewel picker comes in handy because you can just use the top of that jewel picker to stick right onto them and pick them right up so that you can grab them with your tweezers. So I have my cake done, and I set that aside to start working on my background. I have a piece of light pink cardstock in my MISTI, which I prepped with a powder tool, and I'm stamping onto that with the Cue the Confetti background stamp using Versamark ink, and then I embossed this with a clear embossing powder. Now, right now, this piece of cardstock is 5.5 by 5.5 inches, but after embossing it, I do trim it down to 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. I decided to pop the cake up on the background because I'm a little bit crazy. And yes, I did put tiny little pieces of foam tape behind those letters. Now, if you don't want to do that, I don't blame you. You can just glue it right onto the background with some liquid adhesive. Next, I grabbed a sentiment which says birthday from the Hip Hip Yay Day stamp set, and I'm stamping that with Versamark ink onto some vellum, and I'm going to emboss it with white embossing powder. Embossing on vellum can be a little bit trickier. You want to make sure to prep your paper with a powder bag, just like you usually do for embossing. And then when you actually use your heat tool, make sure that you let it heat up really nice and hot before starting. And then make sure that it's only pointing at the vellum for short periods of time. So you want to keep moving it on and off the paper in short bursts so that it's not on the vellum for too long, and this will help to keep the vellum from warping. I cut the vellum into a long strip, and I'm going to fold it around the sides of the background so that I can adhere it to the back, and this way I don't have to put any adhesive behind it on the front, because any adhesive that you use behind it will be seen. So you have to be a little bit creative when you're using vellum and try to hide your adhesive in some way. And I just used regular Scotch tape to adhere that vellum on the back. I made a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card base, and then I popped up the background onto that with foam tape. I decided to do one more sentiment on this card. This time I pulled a sentiment from the Itty Bitty Birthday stamp set, and I picked the one that says Cue the Confetti, which I thought was perfect because that's the name of the background stamp that I used. So I embossed that with white on black cardstock. I cut it out with a sentiment strip die, and I'm going to put that right underneath the birthday sentiment. I did put a little bit of foam tape on the one side because it is hanging off the edge, and I want to make sure that it is nice and level. I decided to go a little bit crazy with the amount of embellishments that I added to this card. Why not? It's a birthday card and it talks about confetti, so why not put a ton of embellishments? I took out some enamel dots that kind of coordinate with the rainbow colors on the cake, and I placed those on top of the cake. And then I took out some clear sequins, and I'm going to have those on the background. So I kept the enamel dots on top of the cake and the sequins on the background behind the cake. I thought that this kept them a little bit more organized so that they made a little bit more sense and it wasn't total chaos. There's still some method to the madness. I didn't want it to look like a unicorn threw up on the card. Was that too far? Did I just go too far? I don't know. Anyways, I finished up this card by grabbing my Wink of Stella glitter brush and going over that smaller sentiment, and then this card was perfect. I hope you really enjoyed this card design and that it gave you some ideas for your own birthday cards. Hope you'll check out the new release, and I'll see you next time.